if you do not use one of the major fuel cards that we integrate with, or maybe a driver filled up at a location that was not on the fuel card and you need to get that entered into the system, any activity that is not on a fuel card you can manually enter in, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. You go to Dispatch, and up on the top we'll go to Advanced System, and you'll see Enter Driver Advance. It's going to give me a list of my drivers. This is both owner-operators and company drivers. So I would find the driver that purchased the fuel and hit Prepare Advance. By default, you can see the current trip for this driver is this ending in 1243. If I want to attach it to that trip, I can click the drop down and choose that particular trip. Or if it was fuel that was part of this trip, I could choose that. And if I do not want to associate it to a trip at all, I want it as a separate transaction, I would choose non-trip. And I'll go ahead and do non-trip for this example. So once I've designated that, I need to determine if this is an other advance, which would be like a com check, a company check, which is self-explanatory, or fuel card. And so we want to do fuel card. It's going to bring up the fuel screen here, where it will require you to enter the invoice number, the station name, city and state, and then the tractor ID. The tractor gallons would be how many gallons they purchased, and then the tractor amount would be the amount that they paid. And before I hit OK here, I'm just going to touch quickly on this bottom portion, which is the accounting piece of it. I can tell by looking at this, it's list account 1230, which if I look, it's the driver advance receivable account. So that means this driver is going to owe me back for this fuel purchase, so I know that this must be an owner-operator. If this was a company driver and the fuel was my expense in the first place, this account 1230 would be replaced by account 5040, which is the default fuel expense account. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And it says it's registered successfully. And I'm going to quickly show you what that fuel purchase looks like in Revenue Settlements. Since it was an owner-operator, I'm going to go to Revenue Settlements. I'm going to go to Process Settlements. And that was under Bob Marley. You're going to see this trip number that says NTA 0001. NTA stands for Non-Trip Advance, meaning we chose to not tie that to a trip number. So if I double-click on it, and I look down in this section here where it says advances from this trip, and I can double click there and I can see the date that was purchased and the amount. Now if I had chosen to tie that to a trip number, what would have happened when I went to the trip number where it says advances from that trip, that's where that 654 would have showed up. And then when I print a settlement report, when I'm done paying him, it would show the revenue that he's getting for that trip, and then it would also subtract the expenses for that trip. So it's up to you. There's no right or wrong way. You can do NTAs, the non-trip, or you can tie it to a trip. And that's how you'd manually enter in fuel.